Welcome to the Comedy Slab. It's episode 142, and essentially we're just a couple of losers making a podcast. What was that phrase? Kim Noble, wasn't it? Have I got that? You see, I'm such a loser, I've even misquoted the phrase about
Didn't he say,
anyway,
I'm doing a podcast because
every other loser.
Like every other loser, that's it, yeah. Quite like that.
Anyway, that's essentially the hard sell at the beginning. I'm Adrian Lacey in the southeast of England. He, being Shane O'Connor, is in the Midlands. And this week we are mostly putting on the notional slab of marble to prod it about and get our incisors into it, or outsizers, whichever sizes. We are putting on the slab. Indeed, it was my choice to look at Mr. Winner. That's why I came in on losers, because I was trying to do a gag about losers and winners. But as you can tell, under-rehearsed as ever, and under-intelligence-sized, if that's a word, it is now. So we're going to get the scalpel into that shortly. That's available as we speak, at least, for a good couple of weeks, if not more, hopefully much more, on BBC iPlayer, certainly in the UK. And Shane will put, as he always does, links to other places you might get it, assuming there are other places where you can get Mr. Winner. It's a Spencer Jones vehicle. He of the mind of Herbert Clunkerdunk, and also, as we'll be touching on, no doubt, Upstart Crow. Park that for a second. Oh, it's the episode called The Interview, if you just want to get prepared mentally, dear listener. But we start with some sad news, really. I mean, as we speak, there's a big RIP story, which is an HRH RIP story. But that's not within our remit. We're not a podcast about the Royals. We are about comedy. And sadly, we've lost comedy actor Paul Ritter, associated with Friday Night Dinner. And you were telling me one or two other things he's been associated with. You say as much a straight actor as anything else. Yeah,
well, and do you know what? It was interesting because I saw quite a few people commenting about his straight acting roles in movies and in TV dramas. I tell you the one he was in, Adrian, which I don't know if you saw it. I've got it, and I've never plucked up the courage to be able to watch the thing, having seen the trailers, is Chernobyl. Or Chernobyl, depending on how you pronounce it.
Yes, I think the former is a little bit more where it's meant to be at. I think, well, that's without looking it up. I've certainly heard people talk about it, and I can imagine. It's an interesting thing, isn't it? Things which are a hard watch. Because on the one hand, you sit there, you're looking at a screen. Most of us are doing that most of the working day if we're working. Perhaps more under lockdown than ever before, Zoom meetings, etc. But actually, the psychological process is, and this was not news to writers because they capitalise on this, everything they write. We put ourselves in the shoes of the people we see on screen, don't we? Yeah. We can't help it. Yeah. We're empathic creatures, apart from the odd hideous dictator. So I think, yes, it was praised as a very powerful drama, but we all know why it's powerful, because it's so damn tragic,
horrific,
and massive. Yeah. It was a massive story at the time, deservedly so.
Paul Ritter, though, I've got to mention.
Yes,
I mean he's been in films like The Limehouse Golem, which is, if you've not seen it, was he's a kind of Victorian crime caper. He had a part in that, and he's also played Jimmy Perry in the TV movie We're Doomed, the Dad's Army story, which I know I've seen. So, I'm just laughing
at the title. I haven't seen it, but so very versatile is what we're saying.
Yeah, sadly, and like 54. I mean, that's a year younger than me.
Very young. Yeah.
I mean, and do you know what? It's the interesting thing, and I'm not disparaging people who do this, but when somebody who is famous tweets about their illness, and you kind of follow them on the long journey until they sadly succumb to it. And everybody says, they're really, really brave to do that. I think it's braver to do what he did. And the other one that springs to mind is Alvin Stardust. Alvin Stardust did exactly the same. Like, you just picked up the paper one day and went, he's dead. I didn't even know he was ill. And
Oh, and Linda Smith is in that category. But I tell you what, I've got this weird thing, and it's a strange psychology. I mean, the whole idea of celebrity is a mind, I don't know, quagmire. Because I got a bit cross with her. I thought I had a right to know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And you think, well, actually, she never met me. I never met her. That's a mutual thing. I had no right to know. It's a very private matter if you choose it to be, even if you're in the public eye.
I think with
but I tell you, the shock is greater, of course, isn't it?
Yeah.
For us, selfishly.
I mean, the Linda Smith thing, I completely get, and I think that's just because of her, the normality of her delivery. You know, she was an every person, wasn't she? There was no affect, unless being normal was the affect to her delivery. I mean, I assume that if you
maybe she was abnormal off air.
Exactly. It's darling, I can't believe it.
I can't work like this.
But you kind of got the impression with Linda Smith that if you met her in the pub, she would talk in the same way, she would act in the same way, she would react in the same way to any of the characters that she played in any of the things that she did. So I kind of get that, really. But I mean, like I say, you're right. I mean, we have no right to know, and in a way, to me, I just kind of think it's almost braver to say, actually, no, this is something that will remain with all of us, with our family, and it won't go outside of that. And I think that's quite a tough thing to do, I think. But yeah, I mean, 54 dying of a brain tumour it's just
very nasty,
awful, isn't it?
Yeah, far too young. Now, I was going to say on to more cheery matters, but actually the subject matter is it's probably not going to be a TV dinner with you and your wife Angelina anytime soon. On the upside, though, they're only 8-minute instalments. Do you want to lead us through this one? Because you found this news story.
Well, it was just I just saw this headline about Jessica Hines and Ryan Sampson. If you don't know Jessica Hines, she, many years ago, starred with Simon Pegg in Spaced. Ryan Sampson, I'm sure his character was Grumio in Plebs. The guy used to go, "All right, landlord."
Sounds about right. With the terrible wig.
Yeah, that's it. Well, a terrible haircut, whichever way. I don't know whether he's a method actor or not. I'm not really quite sure. But they've got these pilots. They've finally got it out there. It's only an 8-minute short. It's called Catching the Bus. It looks like a two-hander, doesn't it? It looks like the two of them just kind of in a car together. 8 minutes long. This is the pilot. And I thought, oh yeah, okay. And then I thought, oh, that's interesting. They're launching it online. And then when you see it's been in development for how many years? You saw how many years it's been?
Well, it says several years. That's the kicker, isn't it? I mean, several years to get to the stage of having 8-minute installments online, which is not to knock it. That's already more than loads of ideas which don't even get that far. But by golly, you've got to have patience if you want to get a comedy show off the ground. And that's not two unknowns, is it? It's two knowns, as we've just described.
Well, not only patience, but determination. I mean, it seems to me, I don't know whether I'm just reading too much between the lines, but because they couldn't get it, over the finishing line with the people that they were doing it with, maybe because of the subject matter, because it's about mental health and those kind of things, that they've said, right, well, okay, let's get it out there, and if it gets a following, we can then repitch it as this is something that got this many hits on Vimeo or YouTube or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, shall we help that along in our own small, petite way? Can you nudge me, if I haven't done it by the time this podcast goes up, to put a link to that on @ComedySlab on Twitter? Because we have got the Vimeo link. And this story, again, another way to find it is comedy.co.uk, who've originated this story. You'll find that on the front page. So it's Catching the Bus, and may or may not be required viewing in the O'Connor household anytime soon.
Well, I mean, I'm going to steel myself and try for 8 minutes. I'm going to try and watch that and just have a look and see. It's not Chernobyl, is it?
No, I imagine that's a bit longer than 8-minute episodes.
Yeah.
Right now, we are turning to Mr. Winner. So Spencer Jones. I mean, we can't help ourselves. We get gushing over Herbert Clunkerdunk. I've managed to wheedle this subtle feature that I keep drawing attention to, which makes it much more vulnerable than if I didn't draw attention to it. Asking you, when I've set the homework, we alternate each week in what we set each other, and you, dear listener, and it's your opinion that counts as much as ours. But when I set the homework...
Was that Huey Green then?
That it was a very poor attempt.
I was going to say... It
was opportunity knocks. Very good for picking up on it.
Yeah, I'm getting undertones and notes of Huey Green there. Yeah.
I'm getting undertones of Fergal Sharkey. But
yeah.
That's another matter entirely.
Well, a good heart these days is hard to find.
Indeed, and someone under 30 who will get that reference is virtually impossible, but they can Google it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm going to guess certainly your heart won't have sunk at the mention of Spencer Jones and Mr. Winner.
No.
But then there's the danger, isn't there? Because we loved Herbert Clunkerdunk, which I think is still out there. I could see you on Skype. You giggle at the mention of the word. That's how funny we find it.
Well, it was just visually, it was just so out there, wasn't it?
The goggle-eyed spectacles get me every time. The photo on iPlayer makes me laugh.
Or the big bulging eyes of his co-stars. And I don't know. There was. We said at the time we'd never seen anything like it, and I still haven't. I mean, who's going to do anything like that now? So yeah, I mean, it is. There's all these visuals that look like they're made of marshmallow pop into your head. I think that you kind of think, oh, well, you can't every time you mention the name. But yeah.
Well, are you happy to? Did you consciously sit down and wipe the slate clean as you saw this edition, as I say, interview? Is it episode 3?
Yeah.
As again.
Yeah.
Episode 3, Series 1. We'll mention Series 2 or lack of in a bit later on, probably if we get time. Did you clear the decks, as it were? Did you hit Control Z?
I think, and I'm feeling a bit ashamed to say this now, but I think I sat there like this with my hand on me.
Oh no,
chin like that.
I have to describe that now. Yeah,
and
sort of hunched up and entertain me, crossed arms, aggressive.
Well, I leaned forward in a way that suggested me saying to the programme, "Are you going to be like Herbert Clunkerdunk or not?" So I'm not, but I wasn't saying, I was very non-committal. I wasn't saying, and I want you to be, or I wasn't saying, and I don't want you to be.
Well, okay. You're teasing me. We will get your headline, will we not? If you work one out, you've always got one ready. Haven't you? It's me that's underprepared. Okay, let's do it. Which is to play the first of 2 audio clips we're going to hear. 2 main running things, which are beautifully intertwined, and we sort of, in this clip, which I made all of 2 hours ago, managed to forget. No, I think we hear the setup of the 2 main strands. This is my view of the 2 main strands, which is he plays a guy called Leslie. Winner is his surname, so Leslie Winner, who's a bit of a loser. In this, unlike Clunkerdunk, he's not yet married. It's the same actress playing his partner, but they get married in episode 6, which I think I'm going to have to now watch. But I mean, one of the it makes your flesh creep. His mum, Leslie's mum, is going out with Leslie's mate, who's a year older. It just gets worse and worse. So we'll hear them at the dinner table. They are like young lovers, even though his mum is not a shade under 60, bless her, young at heart, certainly. And lots of references, did you notice, to, well, kids, nice to see you. This is his mate who's a year older, sort of his dad now in a weird, dark way. And the other strand is, which is sort of the ground is laid here, and indeed in the title interview, there's a job interview which must be attended to. But the real presenting reason for Leslie and his partner to show up at his mum's is it's her. Well, I'm going to let her tell you.
Happy birthday, thank you.
My dears.
That's good wine. What year is it?
Blimey, he's only had a sip, he doesn't know what year it is. Bread, love.
Oh, no, thank you. I'm doing paleo.
Oh, what's that? Can't keep up with all you young'uns.
It's basically where you eat like a caveman.
Oh, what with your hands?
I love your new car, Sharon.
I know, isn't he naughty? I told him I didn't need a present.
Oh, it's just a little runaround, baby.
All right, guys, I'm trying to eat here.
How's the job search going, listen?
Really good. Lots of interesting avenues.
Listen, Steve might have an opportunity for you.
Yeah. Look, your mother and I, we were talking and, well, feel free to tell me to stick it, but a pal of mine runs a very successful injury lawyers firm and they're looking for team managers.
Managers.
Yeah. No getting your hands dirty, phone bashing. Well, you manage a team and then you have weekly targets.
It's just that he doesn't have any management experience.
I mean, he doesn't have any experience at all, does he? Really, I think he's the he's the running gag through all of this. I mean, it's the play on his name, isn't it? You know, Mr. Winner, and will he ever be a winner? Yeah, do you know what? I've got to say, big shout out. You know, I'm a big fan of Oliver Maltman.
Yes, this has been established.
Who plays Steve, his mom's boyfriend? He's just.
I'm getting a sense you might have liked it, unless you're acting so hard that you've totally thrown me. Your headline should give it away if you've written a good one, as you usually do.
Well, my headline is Another Winner, a Slam Clunkerdunk.
Oh, I can see why he's looking very smug. But you will have picked up on that as a listener. You can hear the smugness. I can actually see it exuding from every pore.
However, I have to say...
Well,
I say however, this isn't a however in a bad way, but however, just a caveat. However, I didn't, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well. I didn't, although Spencer Jones has a style and a method and a look and a feel to the way he performs, which not only was in Clunkerdunk, was in this, he's also in his stand-up as well. That kind of, and you mentioned Upstart Crow as well. You know, even though he's doing so, you can still you'd pick him out of a crowd, wouldn't you?
Oh, he's doing Ricky Gervais in that. We've slabbed that as well.
Yeah.
Back in the past.
But even having said all that he's very stylized in his look. I thought this was very removed from Clunkerdunk. I didn't think it was. I thought it was much more in the real world than Clunkerdunk ever was. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, in summary, I do have a sadness about this because I was hunkering for a Clunkerdunkering.
You were hunkering for a Clunkerdunk,
but something like that.
You were a Clunkerdunk hunker,
a slam dunkerer. Yeah. I'm a slam dunk hunker dunker. Anyway, I'll hunker down and get on with it. It looks to me, and this is, laying my cards on the table fairly early on, loads to love about it. And I've got the impression Spencer Jones on a bad day is still brilliant by other people's standards, or streets ahead of lots of other performers, in my view. But it felt like his attempt, or the BBC's attempt, we never know quite where the politics or the direction lies, a bit of both. It's the attempt to package him as a grown-up.
Yeah.
It's George Michael leaving Wham, going solo.
Yeah.
And in the process, although it turns out because he is so damn good, he can do that, there is actually, it's a bit of him, it's just like the story, squeezing into a suit that doesn't fit quite, because he's not given his head, he's not given enough license to be nuts. And this is where we get to the second series thing. There isn't going to be one. I'm not sure if this wasn't one of the casualties, was it? That we thought there was going to be one and then wasn't. That was a Channel 4 thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think so, yeah.
A few weeks ago. No. But I mean, he's amazingly positive about it. And of course, you've got to be in the acting profession, or at least, that's the front you have to put on. He was given this wonderful opportunity. They threw, I think they threw money at it in a good way. It's not been wasted, as far as I can, that's my hunch. They've got the best production values and all of that. And it is a lovely script. It's just not letting him let rip. But on the other hand, he might have looked in the mirror and thought, well, none of us is getting any younger. Is there something that doesn't fit about Clunkerdunk at 50, say?
Yeah.
Has he got to think about longer term and maybe straight acting as you get older, or obviously under COVID, he's not been able to do any stand-up apart from very brief periods, if he was able to do that. He's done some songs. I was looking back at a very funny thing he put up in June. So just search Spencer Jones YouTube. I think I found it on, but it must be all out there. I think he's a Twitterer. So, I mean, you appear to be agreeing with me, not that you have to.
There's no, I mean, his music thing, I was going to mention, the music to this was written by Spencer and Andy Jones.
Now, do we know if they're brothers?
I'm assuming that's his brother. Yeah, I don't think it's a huge stretch of the imagination, is it? It's interesting you say though that kind of like making him an adult, and I think you're quite right. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. And very early on in the episode, there was a scene where he'd bought some balloons for his mom, and he's trying to get in the car with them, and I thought
that's right at the beginning. Yeah,
that to me it was almost like they'd said to him, "Oh, can you do a scene there where you do some physical stuff?" And it was very obvious and very below par for him, because he's normally his physical comedy just comes so far out of left field, as you say. You're kind of like, well, where did that come from? You know, nobody else thinks to put eyes on your chest and eyebrows and make your belly button look like it's whistling. Other than Spencer Jones.
Oh, sorry, is that not ordinary? I thought
so. If you could just pop your
just
t-shirt
me and
back
him,
on, that'd be a good for us. Yeah,
for all of us.
Do you know? And I kind of thought, oh no, like the first scene-ish, I was kind of like, oh no, have they ruined it now? But it kind of recovered through there. But I know why they've done it, and I think a lot of audiences, or a lot of parts of an audience, will be turned off by the wacky or the zany. Oh, they've ruined it now. They've ruined it.
Yeah.
But
this is the worry about Toast in Tinseltown, because he's gone from Channel 4 to the BBC. I know you're very worried about that. You've already decided it's going to not work. I will attempt to give it a good, hopefully not too prejudiced view when it appears, I think, in the autumn.
And do you know what's sad about that? And 10 years ago, I would have said, oh, no, this is the best move for it. But I think after I saw what they did to Partridge when they put him in that kind of one-show parody, for me, that was it then. You know, it was like kind of, I just thought, nah. It kind of ruined it for me in a way. I didn't think that they would do, like 10 years ago, I said, I know you're being crazy about it. But yeah, I do worry that when it moves like that. But you do have hope for something like this, because you kind of think, well, if it doesn't get a second series with the BBC, maybe, Channel 4 or somebody else or an independent production company would take it on and do something with it. But that still doesn't seem to happen in the industry, does it?
Not enough. The thing is, and it's easy to forget, that the comedy is a high-risk business. We're demonstrating just week to week how personal a thing it is. It's as personal as, who's your favourite band, which song do you like?
Yeah.
You might like one band and then you hate one of their songs. Not everything works by a long stretch. I remember we were talking the other week about on digital, so the very early days, the precursor to Freeview. And I remember seeing Matt Lucas and David Walliams, who went on to fantastic success, of course, with Little Britain, but a very odd thing of theirs on the precursor to BBC Three. What were we saying that was called? BBC Choice.
BBC Choice, yeah.
Yeah, and it just looked like, well, it looked, in my memory, I mean, this is going back 20 years plus, it made me think of the sort of production values of something a bit amateurish on YouTube.
Yeah.
Someone just pointing an iPhone at themselves. But of course, if you just looked at that and thought, well, we won't give them a second chance, you'd have missed the massive hit, the juggernaut that was Little Britain. So yeah, it's high stakes, isn't it? High risk.
I mean, I have to say as well, when you look at the talent that they've got, and I've already mentioned Oliver Maltman, who plays Leslie's mom's boyfriend. Sean Williamson. I went and watched episode 1 as well, because I thought actually I quite like this. So I went off and watched episode 1, which had got Sean Williamson in. And I feel a bit shortchanged that we ended up by default just choosing an episode that hadn't got Sean Williamson in, because he was great in the episode that I saw him in.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right. You won't know.
But it gives other people a chance, doesn't it?
But what I was going to say, aside from the cast, who I think are just excellent, and Lucy Pearman as well, who, as you said.
I was going to say, she's the secret weapon. She's the quiet, like Stephen Merchant against Ricky Gervais. And I'm not saying, actually, I've said before, and I think you've agreed, that Stephen Merchant might actually, certainly in some scenes, be stronger than Ricky Gervais. Pearman never pulls focus, but by golly, she's just right. And, it's just the naturalness and the undersell. And you can believe, as you have to, for this to work, you can believe that she'd want to marry this man, despite all his very obvious faults.
It's interesting. If you've ever watched, if you Google her stand-up or have a look on YouTube, Lucy Pearman stand-up, they're kindred spirits. She comes, I saw her recently, she was on Harry Hill's nightclub thing that he did recently.
All right.
And she came on dressed as a giant bunch of grapes.
I'm in.
And started talking in a South American accent to the audience, and you kind of think, she's you can see she's a Spencer Jones type person. That's why that kind of works. But I wanted to mention the writer. It's written by a guy called Matt Morgan. This series, who wrote I thought it was fantastic. It was great, and actually my wife enjoyed it as well. A thing with a guy called Terry Minot in it, I don't know if you saw it, and Joe Hartley, called The Mimic. It was a Channel 4 thing.
No, I didn't. Tell more.
It's basically about this guy. He's a kind of loser as well, but he can do brilliant impressions of people. He's Terry Wogan was better than all of ours put together, kind of thing.
No one's is better than yours.
But he's also written for comedy sketch shows as well, like Cardinal Burns and Morgana Robinson and people like that. So, he's no slouch in the writing department. So you kind of think, you expect that it's going to be a quality product. I'm really shocked that nobody's picking up a second series off the back of this. I really am.
Well, it's one of those self-fulfilling prophecies, and we must get to our second clip in a moment. But I was trying to find out, because this day and age, I barely know the TV schedules anymore, and I was trying to find out, and it's not as easy as it should be, which BBC channel did it go out on and when.
Right.
And as far as I can make out via radiotimes.com, it was going out 10 p.m. BBC Two.
Right.
Well, 10 p.m, you're not going to get the audience even that you get at 9 p.m, which is peak. There's a quite sharp drop-off. And if you get a very serious documentary just before, then you might have totally different audiences. You don't get that sort of inherited audience effect on the linear channel. Of course, iPlayer is another thing, and loads of people, particularly anyone younger than us, is only watching on catch-up. But no, they're still looking at linear stats, and you won't get this. So if you don't have confidence in it enough, I wondered even if it was BBC One, because I think it would have worn, with the right publicity and drive and commitment behind it and the right time of evening, it would have definitely worn a BBC One outing. Yeah. For instance, there's euphemisms around, and I'm going to do one as well because we're trying to appeal to all. Bedroom activity, for instance. So instead of effing and jeffing, so that made me think, well, they've written around a mainstream audience. Don't want to frighten the horses. Don't want to upset your gran. It's a story, I think, that 2, 3, even 4 generations, if you've got that all under lockdown in front of your screen, could enjoy. I felt there was real ambition there, like he might want to do a sort of Charlie Chaplin classic of his own, as far as you can do that on the small screen. And yet you tuck it away, and it is, I think, tucking away. Okay, it's not as slight as BBC 4, but BBC 2 at 10 o'clock, middle of the week, I think it was, if I remember correctly. It's serious, it's self-fulfilling.
I still don't think the BBC understand what the world is doing outside of their portal. I really don't. I mean, I think there's the, as you say, the overconfidence in the linear channel, because that's, Tim Davies was saying the other day they've got 5 years to live, essentially, before Netflix crushes them, and he's the bloke running the bloody corporation. So
that doesn't show. I think he's trying to frighten us all. And I should remind people that I do some work for dear old auntie BBC, but not in the comedy domain. But they don't own my tongue at the moment. But I have to be a little bit discreet. But Yeah, there is that worry that they'll carry on. I mean, it's almost as is going on at the moment, or went on earlier today as we speak. The Duke of Edinburgh dying, and the obit procedure was going out on BBC Radio 1 Extra, where I think some of the people will be saying, Prince Philip, was he a rap act?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that's what happens when you try and be all things to all men. And it's an impossible ask, isn't it, really? Should we have another clip? Because time is marching on.
High time. Right. Let's see if I can seamlessly remind myself from the title I've given the clip what the heck is going on. Oh, well, big shout out. I mean, you did say a blanket wondrous to the whole cast. Here we hear the wonderful Waj Ali. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I did try and look it up, couldn't find it on the BBC pronunciation website. But he is the interviewer of Spencer Jones, and there is the toe-curling moment in the interview, which you're about to hear. And there have been many toe-curling moments even coming up to this.
Yeah, really happy he's with this new girlfriend, you know? He so deserves it. Not had much luck with the women, has he? He's too nice. People take advantage. Have you met the lucky lady?
Yeah, I have. A few times.
Yeah. He's always like the older woman.
Yeah.
Says they have a lifetime of experience. If you know what I mean?
Well, I wouldn't.
Apparently, him and Sharon have a lot of fun for hours at a time.
Okay.
Just happy for him.
Did you say he was friends with your mum? Yeah.
Is Sharon your mum?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm really sorry.
It's fine.
It's not. I can't believe I've just said that.
I still want the job.
Do you want a coffee? I'm going to get a coffee.
Yes, please.
Cool. Look, I'll be back in a minute, then I'll give you a tour. I'm really sorry for...
Easy peasy.
I don't know who it was that cast him, but go immediately to the medal drawer. Okay, so I'd seen him before, actually, in a programme called Witless, a comedy programme, about two girls who end up going into the witness protection scheme. And I remember thinking at the time, he's good. He's got this naturalness about him. I just loved that scene and the whole timing of the way that he put. I mean, you can literally see the penny drop inside his head as he
feel it as well.
Is Sharon your mum? That kind of moment when it's just done. I mean, I don't know how many times they filmed it, but it's just done beautifully, isn't it? The timing is just exquisite.
Wonderful. I'm trying to find the director's name. Have you got it in front of you?
Yeah, I have.
Forgive me. Again,
can I just mention the
screenitis.
other thing as well? What I was going to say was that the subplot to that is that he hasn't got any shoes on, has he? Leslie Winner.
That's a whole other subplot, and that little sound at the end was his wife texting because she's brought him a pair.
She's done it with the shoes,
like you do at a job interview.
Outside. Andrew Chaplin is the director of this.
Well, I mentioned his great grandfather Charlie.
Oh right, okay.
I wonder if I used to be a member of a photographic club which was 2 doors down from where Chaplin lived in Kennington in South East London. Strange but true.
It does happen, doesn't it? Because one of my last of the summer wine stories is that the video, I think he was the video editor or a film editor on Last of the Summer Wine, some of the later episodes, was a guy called Andrew Wilde, Wilde. And I thought, I wonder if he's related to the guy who plays Foggy, one of the main characters, Brian Wilde. And it was actually Brian Wilde's son. Who was the film editor. I wonder how he got that job. It's quite good, isn't it?
On merit, I'm sure, for legal purposes, if nothing else.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, are we inching ever closer, or centimetering, for those who are anti-Brexit, towards giving our marks out of 5?
I would say so, yes. Can I just say as well, I've invented another genre of comedy. You had the smile com.
Yeah, I've got my girlfriend saying that
you
now. She said, "Yeah, I think it's a bit of a smile com."
That one, yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, I've got I've coined this. This is a what if a com.
almost could go wrong though, couldn't it? At the end, if you mispronounce it or
But
mishear
what if
it. Be careful how you say it. Meaning, what if someone else had played him, or what if he'd been allowed to have his head and go a bit manic?
It's written as it's almost like written as a series of dominoes, and so each action has a reaction, and so at the start of the episode, you push the first domino, and then there's the moment where he forgets to put his shoes on and attends the interview in his big blue furry slippers, and then.
I think you'll find they're grey with a POW logo, but maybe my...
Oh, they were blue on mine.
Maybe my colour balance was wrong on the screen.
Recalibrate it then, obviously. But then...
You're watching blue movies at the time.
He gets a marker pen and then decides to colour them in, and then that leaves big marker pen footprints on the marble floor to the lift. And
so on and so on. We don't want to give every plot point away, but I see what you mean. A what-if-a-com.
Is that kind of what-if-a-com? It's
Well, it's essentially, slapstick is part of it, although that's not doing it full justice and not doing him full justice, I suppose.
Yeah.
But there's definitely there's a touch of the Lee Evans in there, but without, well, certainly in this show, it wasn't really manic at all. It's quite subdued, and in fact, the colour balance, that was odd. I thought, on that point about the screen, I seriously thought my screen had gone to the night balance, where it goes a bit more orangey. But there's clearly a look. It's a sort of 1970s Polaroid look. Well, that's what it was showing on my screen. Maybe I need to hit it a few times. But and so it all had. That was obviously the feel they were going for, subdued. Yeah. And unfortunately, the comedy is subdued and he is subdued. But I'm just repeating myself.
But isn't that interesting? Is that you do something that, as you say, is on the one hand so manic, but if you do it in a subdued way. It doesn't feel. Yeah,
manic.
It doesn't. You don't. I mean, you kind of like my mind was racing watching it both times because I'm a great one for thinking. Well, why doesn't he just do this? I'm trying to find escape routes for him all the while down the road. but the comedy was, as you say, was calm and was calculated and was. Yeah. It wasn't that. I know what you mean with the Lee Evans thing, but it wasn't the out there sweaty Lee Evans, was it? In that sense,
no. It was a calm man in a suit, or generally. I mean, yes, he's feeling pain. We're feeling his pain, and you can imagine the heart racing a bit. But he's not acting big, is he?
No,
in any sense.
Clever.
Anyway,
numbers. Me to go first.
Who's going first?
Well, I think. If I go first, do you want me to go first or not? Yeah, shall I go first?
I do, because I'm feeling very insecure.
Okay, well,
but
I'm not. I mean, I'm completely unequivocal about this, and I'm unanimous as well.
Yeah. If you could only say it, you'd be it.
I would, and the giveaway is that
you quivered as you said equivocal.
Unequivocal.
You were quizzical.
The giveaway for me. Is my poker tell, if you like, was the fact that it's a bit more than a tell really, is that I watched this twice and then went off and watched episode 1. And I mean, that tells you all you need to know really about how much I enjoyed it.
You couldn't stand it.
I thought it was awful.
Yeah,
No. I really enjoyed it. I mean, and because of all the things that we've said throughout the podcast, I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5.
Ooh, wonderful. Well, that's a breath of fresh air in contrast to last week's 1.5 from you. Guess what? I'm going to stick with what I decided before I heard you give it that mark, with a classic Lacey 3.5. But I'm tempted to. It very nearly was a 4. Just hearing, it's just your enthusiasm for it was very infectious during recording this show. Has been just now, and I do feel a bit sad that I can't give it more. I think I've explained in laborious detail for people more than once, probably the limitations for me. But it's a quality product, and people should see it and make up their own mind. And yes, I'm going to have to watch episode 6. Rather suggests I've seen episode 1. I think I'm going to have to fill in the gaps, because no point jumping to the end of the series and the wedding which we know will go very smoothly. It's bound to,
isn't it? Of course, there's no question about it, is there really? Yeah.
Okay, big boy. So what's that in summary? That is 7.5.
Yeah, 7.5 out of 10, which is
not grubby.
No, you'd give that a second series, wouldn't you? But there you go. What do we know?
We would. Yeah, we're not commissioners.
It's a BBC Studios production. I do wonder as well if they do it in house like that it's easier to kill if they don't like it.
I don't know, because it's not fully in-house anymore. BBC Studios, without getting too technical and political, is a commercial...
No, it's not. It's a bloody
okay, let's park that. That's probably not what people tuned in for.
As much as they like to play being in business, I'm sorry, but it isn't, because they're not subject to the same market forces that everybody else is.
Well, they... to a great extent.
They're not,
anyway,
are they? Because if they make a raging success, they go, "Oh, look at us! We made a raging success. We're amazing." And if they make an absolute turkey, they go, "Well, we're a public service broadcaster, so it was never about ratings." That's what they do, and that's what they've always done. So
I'm saying no more.
They can pretend all they like.
I'm working for them tomorrow, a different branch. But anyway, so the homework for next week, big boy.
All right. Shall I give you the cast clues? Shall I tell you who's in it?
Yes. Or cast, as I would say down here, and your son would say.
Cast, yes. Stars Alan Davis.
Have we done as Black Books?
No.
Have I got that title right?
Yeah. Alan Davis wasn't in Black Books, though.
Oh, okay. I have got a gap there, as you've just said.
Catherine Parkinson, who's from the IT crowd, of course. Izzy Sutty, who was from Peep Show. Matt King, who was also, he played Super Hands in Peep Show.
I love Super Hands. I don't think I know this one. Is it newish?
It's
or
oldish. It's a BBC,
anyway,
actually, as well. I think it went out on BBC Two originally.
Okay. Well, I'm in anyway. So it's a stellar cast.
All right. It's about, and it's also written by Matt King as well, Super Hands. Matt King and Oliver Lansley wrote this, and it stars Alan Davis, and it's only went for one series, 6-parter, about a chef in a hotel and the shenanigans that they all get up to, and it's called Whites.
Whites. Is that what they say in the trade for their overalls?
Chef's Whites.
I'm guessing.
Absolutely, yeah.
I've never heard that.
Oh, haven't you? Oh, right, okay.
Okay. He's got a face for a celeb chef, hasn't he? Or a chef, I don't know why I'm saying that. It's just a gut feeling.
No, he has. He
keeps
it in a Tupperware box underneath the desk, which is...
made of
wax.
Nice,
yeah.
How queer.
Yeah, so...
okay. Sorry, which Esipode?
I thought we'd go for Esipode 3 right in the middle of the series.
Okay. Series 1 of 1. Episode 3 of presumably 6. Doesn't matter.
6, yeah.
It's it is 6. Obviously, from the mathematical clue I failed to pick up on. Okay, and Whites. I've already got a headline lined up, but that's only if I don't like it.
Oh, dear.
Right. That rarely happens to me. Anyway, so to our sort of credits. Lovely to have you along. If you're new to the show, it'd be lovely equally if you subscribed. He'll tell you all those platforms. I will remind you, Twitter @ComedySlab, also @ComedySlab, our Facebook page. If you could like the page and follow us on Twitter, that'd be fantabulosa. A nice generous star rating on that Apple iTunes podcast thing, and comments to go along. I mean, why wouldn't you want to add your comments? He says, knowing full well, comments you can send your career up as well as down, a bit like they say on financial commercials. Yeah. Anyway, it'd be lovely to hear from you. Any reaction is better than no reaction, he said, again, knowing that's not necessarily the case. But let's go positively into that good night. And before we say good night, lastly, in person, we're starting to unlock, so with a bit of luck, you're able to see people in person and say, oh, I've really enjoyed that podcast with the Shanester and the Aidster. What's it called? Oh, yes, Comedy Slab. Thank you for recommending it. Thank you in advance.
There speaks a man who's never received a letter in green biro.
You say.
Yeah. We used to get them all the while at Pebble Mill. Oh, that's another story for another day.
Yes.
Yeah, talking about the platforms, I'm wearing them now. What do you think?
Hey,
we,
they gave well with your white, your white T-shirt.
We're on Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeart Radio, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. I mean, it's ridiculous. The amount of platforms. iHeart Radio, did I mention that one?
You didn't. And Spotify, you failed.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and Spotify, I was saving that one till last.
Yeah, you can say that now, can't you? Because I've helped.
Because it's the most popular. Popular.
We like
apparently
popular.
everybody
like unequivocal.
Everybody heads to Spotify and grabs a podcast and sits in the corner. So that's quite nice. So yeah, you're more than welcome to do any of those things. Can I just a quick apology to Adrian? You won't have noticed if you're listening to this at home or in the garden or wherever you happen to be. If you're out, make sure you've got a note from your doctor to say you're allowed to be there. But I've got a bit of a bad shoulder, so all through this episode, I've been doing all kinds. It's a bit like Adrian having to do a podcast with Mr. Motivator from the 1980s. And
I thought you were just airing your armpits.
And if I hadn't have worn the luminous G-string, he'd have probably been. He'd probably a lot more grateful.
Well, I worried you weren't wearing anything below the microphone line, as we call it.
Because obviously the problem is it's really cut in, and now I'm quite quizzical. So that's it.
Well, you quiver away, my friend. I'm about to go and get my Pow's slippers and put them up and have a nice, relaxing, warm Oliver malted milk drink. Oh, get me.